I've been playing through Bloodborne for the first time, and I'm pretty sure it's turning me into a masochist. I'm getting destroyed, but I can't put it down. Finally getting that win on the Cleric Beast felt like waving the Star-Spangled Banner in the middle of a hurricane. Bloodborne is the only FromSoft title that I've played so far. And I know, I'm really jumping into the deep end with this one. I just figured if I want to call myself a Souls-like fan, I should at least beat one of the originals. This game is great, and I know it could look so good with a graphics update. Not that the hard cap of 30 FPS is a deal breaker, but we desperately need that 60 FPS remaster. In fact, we need Bloodborne to open up to other platforms. It's crazy that a game this beloved is still locked to just PlayStation. Meanwhile, Sony keeps acting like the game doesn't even exist. It got me thinking about the console war and how exclusivity deals like what Sony has with Bloodborne actually end up hurting games more than helping them. I know for a fact Bloodborne would be even more popular than it is now if it were just available on PC and Xbox, and I couldn't help but relate it to my favorite game of 2024 because it's in almost the exact same situation, and I hope it doesn't get stuck in Sony's limbo. Stellar Blade is my personal game of the year, and as of making this video, it's still a PlayStation 5 exclusive. Great for the Sony crowd, but everyone else is missing out on an awesome game. The exclusivity is killing the game's reach. Stellar is actually in a better position than Bloodborne is because we know the developers are currently working on a port for PC, whereas, again, Sony loves to pretend Bloodborne doesn't even exist. Bringing Stellar Blade and Bloodborne to both PC and Xbox would be a great move. It would drive so many more new sales of the games. But why wouldn't they just do that from the start? In fact, why would any game lock themselves behind a single console or platform if it only hurts sales in the long run? What's the point? Stellar Blade is actually a perfect example here. Shift Up are the developers, and they're a smaller studio who usually makes mobile games. Stellar Blade is their first try at a console title, which really makes it all the more impressive considering how good it is. They just don't have the experience making AAA console titles, so it really helps having that outside opinion like Sony's to help steer the ship. All Sony deals with are AAA console releases, so they're an excellent resource here. They also provide financial backing to help move the game along, they provide press and word of mouth, and that's really the crux of the agreement. Publishers lock in the exclusivity deal and help the game get made, hoping that the game drives more sales of their platform. It's exclusive to the console. If you want to play Bloodborne or Stellar Blade, you have to get a PlayStation. The problem with this logic is that the games don't actually sell consoles. This might be a shock to Sony or Microsoft, but games sell games. Consoles can sell games, but games do not sell consoles. I like Halo, always have since I was just a wee lad, but I've never owned an Xbox. The only times I was ever able to play Halo or Halo 2 was when I went over to a friend's house who did have an Xbox. The game is awesome, but even as a kid, I never felt justified buying a whole-ass console just to play one game. It's an incredible barrier to entry that, in my opinion, ends up hurting the new title more than it hurts the exclusive platform it's on. Think about it. There's plenty of other games that the platform can use as a sales pitch, but the game is 100% reliant on the platform and its player base. It's a really tricky line for a small developer to walk because they most likely need the resources that a publisher like Sony provides. Without those resources, they'll have a hard time even getting the game off the ground. But once it is off the ground, being locked behind a single platform cuts out over half of your prospective player base. It's kind of a lose-lose situation for the dev, but it's really the only choice they've got. I've made several videos on Stellar Blade at this point, and I could make a 20-minute compilation of just comments asking me, when is this game coming to PC? PC release when? So many people who would otherwise have already played it, but they can't because it's locked behind a massive entry barrier. Games sell games. Games do not sell platforms or consoles. If games actually sold consoles, then nobody would be asking when the PC releases because they would just go get a PlayStation. Sony cannot seriously believe that keeping a stranglehold on games like Bloodborne or Stellar Blade or any other exclusive will actually drive more console sales. It might sell a few more for the people who simply have to have those games, but for the average consumer, it's pretty out of touch. All they're doing is putting a secondary price point on the product. Instead of enticing new customers, that really just turns them away. I know because I'm one of those customers. And I don't want to sound like I'm just harping on Sony. It's not like they're the only ones doing it. There's another game coming out next year that I'm really excited for called South of Midnight. It's an action RPG with some Souls-like combat, and it's just oozing with style. It's set in this alternative American South, almost a Mississippi, Louisiana bayou setting, and it looks so cool. It's animated on 2s. I know I would love to play this, but hey, it's an Xbox exclusive. Great, so now I'm in the same situation with Halo, a game I would love to play in my own time, but since I don't have the right hardware, I'd need to spend $500 to play it instead of the usual $70. If only it were coming to PlayStation. But this is probably exactly how the Xbox and Steam crowds talk about Bloodborne and Stellar Blade. This is exactly my point. We're all in the same boat here. It's these publishers who are trying to outsell each other's platforms and using the games as a hostage sales pitch. It's honestly genius. It makes me think of the Geico commercial and the dollar. Almost had it. If only you had a PlayStation. In the case of South of Midnight, it's also coming to Steam, so if I really want to play it, I could get it there. I'm just a console snob, so I prefer to be on my device of choice. But the main message here is that console and platform exclusive titles are not a good thing for the consumer nor the game's developers, and I think more players and devs are realizing it. The only party that really benefits from exclusivity deals are the publishers. Sure, the devs get the chance to make the game better, but what good is it when you're cutting out over half of your potential player base? Then the publisher might look at the game's sales and maybe think, this is softer than expected, and they might think twice before committing to another game like that, even if it's a fantastic title. It's not the game's fault, it's the artificial barrier to entry. Stellar Blade sold over 1 million copies in its first month alone, which is really impressive for a first-time developer making their first console game. And people conveniently forget that it's just on one platform. I imagine sales would have at least tripled if it had also launched on Steam, possibly quadrupled if Xbox got it too. I think publishers need to be a little more lenient with this stuff. I don't really know what kind of deal would be most fair to all parties involved. I just know as a gamer, I'm missing out on a lot of opportunities just because I don't have the right system, and the same is true for a lot of you out there. Stellar Blade cannot become another Bloodborne. Both games deserve better, and they deserve to be enjoyed by everyone, not just the lucky few who bought the right machine. For all the talk of the console war being over, it sucks that we still have to put up with exclusives, but what do you guys think? Am I right, or am I just complaining about stuff beyond my control? If you think I should just suck it up and buy an Xbox, sure, you can donate to my Cashapp and PayPal links in the description and help me out with that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. This has been Star. Keep shining, baby.